In this one, we are going to be updating the line item total using a pre-save signal. So that is in our models, if we look at our cart models, so the cart item itself, every time it's about to be saved, we're going to also set this line item total, which we don't even have it as an item in here. So let's create it. So we'll do line item total, and line item total equals to models.decimal field, and we'll do max digits equals to 10, decimal places equals to 2. All right, and then we'll say the default for, actually we'll set the default value when we go through. We always want to have the line item total, and that's why we're going to be using pre-save as opposed to post-save. So let's go ahead and add this into our database by doing python manage.py, make migrations, and it's going to ask us to provide a one-off value or set a default in models. We're going to provide a one-off value, and I'm just going to do 1999. That's not actually any one-off value, but we're just putting that in there as an arbitrary one. And then we'll migrate it, and we've created it successfully. Okay, so we can run the server again. And now if we look at our cart, we should be able to see some sort of line item total for this default. Let's go back into our cart detail, and we have line item total, and we see that it's $19.99. Of course, that's not the actual amount, but that's okay. So going back into our cart models, we're going to import the signal of post-save, or excuse me, pre-save. So to do this, we're going to copy the database stuff. So from django.db.models.signals, import pre-save. And then we're going to make a receiver function. So cart item pre-save receiver. And the arguments that's going to come through are the sender, the instance. We have raw, using, and update fields. I'm not going to worry about the rest of them, so I'm just going to do args and keyword args. And then what we want is we say the quantity, we want to get the quantity equals to instance.quantity. And then we also want to get the price of the item, so that's going to be instance.item.getPrice. And we'll have to check that if it's an instance method or a property. And then we'll say new, or line item total is equal to quantity times price. And then finally, the instance dot line item total equals to line item total. So let's check to make sure that the item itself, or the variation, get price, that method actually works. So in the variation products, we'll go into models, and we have get price here. So it's either one way or another, it's going to return either the sale price or the actual price. So we're not going to worry too much about how it's being displayed at this time. We're really just worrying about how to set the line item total itself. And then once we have this, we are going to now do presave.connect, and this is going to be the cart item presave receiver function, and then the sender equals to cart item. All right, so why is this going to work exactly? If we look at our view, when we actually update the cart, we save the cart item itself. So first of all, we get or create it, and the default for item instance, or for quantity, if you go back into the cart item, the default quantity is 1. So if it's first being created on this get or create call, then it's automatically going to assume that the quantity is 1, like right when it's created. Now, one thing that we could do is we'll say if QTY is less than 1, well, actually we'd want to say if it's greater than or equal to 1, then we will actually update all of this stuff. Otherwise, we'll just not do anything. But more than likely, it actually has to be greater than 1, because it's either going to be 1 or more than that. Otherwise, in our view, like we've seen before, we actually delete the item if it's less than 1. Okay, so let's actually try this out. And I'm going to go into our cart, refresh, and we can't multiply a sequence of not-int of type decimal. So we have a little bit of an issue as far as the receiver function. So we can't have decimal places actually coming through here. So I'm going to do from decimal, import decimal. So this is decimal as a Python function. So we'll do decimal of quantity and then decimal of price. And let's take a look at this. Now it's actually updating it, and notice that that updates too. So if I hit update item, it updates that price too. Granted, it's actually refreshing the page. It's not an AJAX call, and I'll talk about AJAX later, but it's if we change the price here and hit update item, it does update the correct line item total, but it's actually refreshing the page. So as we see up here, if we change the quantity, as soon as I click update item, the URL actually changes up here, which it means that it's actually requesting something new. So if we go into our products and just add a new product, we can see that the line item totals are now going to work. So if I did 100, add to cart, it's now showing me these new line item totals, which is really nice. And of course, if I change these totals and hit update item, it's going to actually update it based on whatever we put in here, which is pretty cool. So this also means that we could update the cart as well. So that's something that we'll want to do very soon. But before I do that, I want to think about how I actually want this to happen. So if I change this, instead of having update item come up, I'm just going to have it automatically updated, and I want to do that without doing a request to the server. So this is doing a request that refreshes the page. I want to do a request that doesn't refresh the page. So that's something we'll work on in the next one. If you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.